So with that little bit of marketing background, I want to move to this whole business of what we really think marketing is. And that brings me into a discussion of intangible assets, because the discrepancy between market and book value shows that whilst accountants don't measure them, surely investors do. So with that in mind, let's just have a look at what happens. Now this you will recognize instantly as a balance sheet. Now a balance sheet is without a shadow of doubt the most useless document ever invented by mankind. It was invented in the Industrial Revolution, you know, the great industrial age, when most of the assets that we had were tangible. So it had some credibility in those days, but I'm afraid today it just doesn't hold water. And of course, if you look at what a balance sheet says, it says this is what we own, and that's sources of finance, isn't it? And guess what? It balances, which is why you call it a balance sheet. And when you're doing your accounting exams, I don't know whether anybody in this room ever has, but when you're doing your accounting exams, it never balances in the exam. Well, that's easy. Just put something on whichever side makes it balance and you'll get 50%. I've done it myself. But don't tell the examiners retrospectively. All right? And of course, somebody comes along and says, I'll give you 100 million for it. And the first thing you do is you say, don't be stupid. You don't believe this garbage here. You don't believe that. I'm not letting you have it for 100 million. So you argue and argue and argue, and eventually you settle on 900 million. The problem we've got now, ladies and gentlemen, is guess what? It doesn't balance anymore, all right? Now I want you to watch, everybody in the room and those who are watching this video, you can time me if you like, how quickly I can make it balance. Whoops, it balances. You see? You got it now. There it is. It balances. All I've done is I've stuck something in there, called it goodwill, and guess what? It balances. Now, if you're an MBA class, I would ask you what on earth you think that goodwill is. What do you think it is? And the answer really is it's the only thing you've got that is of any value. These things up here are worthless, always have been and always will be. When Nestle bought Rowntree's, they weren't after a factory in York, were they? And I remember once, I'd better not mention the names because I don't know how many people are going to be watching this video, but I was an expert witness for a famous soft drinks company that took its brand name away from another soft drinks company, and they didn't like it, so there was they got expert witnesses and you swear affidavits in court, but there was an out-of-court settlement. And the day they took the brand name away from this company, guess what? Its factory lines were idle, its lorries were empty, customers stopped buying, and yet those were the things that were in the balance sheet. And if you go to parts of Western Europe, certainly parts of the United Kingdom, you'll see empty factories, you'll see empty offices, somebody's so-called assets. And assets really are not assets until you get in there and understand what this funny thing that we call goodwill really means. And because I'm saying to you, it's all you've got that means anything. Now, I happen to be, amongst other things, chairman of Brand Finance, and we do the branding valuations for lots of the biggest companies in the world. Now, we've looked at, if you just look at this, we've looked at $31.6 trillion worth of stock market value. And that's all you really need to know to get a scale of the evidence that we've got. And if you look at these bars, I only want to draw your attention to one of these, which is in the United States of America, 87% of corporate value is in intangibles. That means that land and buildings and things like that, only 13%. In the United Kingdom, ladies and gentlemen, it is 85% of corporate value is in intangibles. And as I say, you can have a look at the others, you know, the piece of your own home or wherever you're looking at this particular video.